It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege to interview the owner of StreatClipSports. How are you doing today?
Man, I'm doing excellent. I just want to thank you for having me on, man. It's a great opportunity.
You're welcome. Can you talk about how you got started in your sports videographer business?
Yeah, so my story is actually kind of an interesting one. So I was in school to be a teacher, and I was actually student teaching. And, I did football, basketball, track growing up. I played football in college at Charleston Southern. But I really had a love for basketball. I was just a little short to play the position that I play. And so naturally, I took up coaching basketball. So while I was student teaching, I was coaching at North Charleston Elementary School. And one of the parents sent me some phone clips from one of our games. And I said, hey, you could just send me all that you have. I used to make my own highlight tapes. So I did that, messed with the phone a little, did some stuff for the kids, and they loved it. And I said, man, I can really do this. So, I went out on a limb literally the next month. I maxed out my credit card buying a camera. And, that was all it was. I graduated. I taught physical education in middle school, coached basketball for a year. And I mean, within just a year of doing it, I realized that I was able to make more than what I was making teaching, and I could still coach and mentor kids at the same time. So I went ahead and made that transition to full time.
Can you talk about a little bit of how you knew that you wanted to start, do you strictly do just basketball, or do you cover all sports?
So we cover all sports, and actually I do more than just sports. StreatClipSports is one branch of my business. I have Street Clips Productions as the full business, and we do everything. But I will say specifically, I think I just love doing sports, and specifically basketball, a little more. It's exciting. It's close pace. I get to stand under the rim and watch these high level athletes perform.
What places have you covered?
So, we travel quite a bit, but we really haven't left the East Coast yet. I've been, from Atlanta up to what's the area in North Carolina? A little farther than Wilmington, that area, just kind of up and down the coast. And we're actually based out of Charleston, South Carolina. So we do a lot of stuff in Charleston and Columbia.
Can you talk about what it goes through when you have to make a mixtape?
Yeah, so a lot more goes into it than some of the kids realize. And I know they get excited and they're, hey, man, did you catch this? Did you catch that? Well, first of all, when you pull something out of a DSLR camera, it doesn't even have a name yet. You put it in your computer and it says, MWVI dot dot dash, So the first step is I have to watch literally hours of footage and break it down and name it just to know what's what. And that's going to take around, 2 to 3 hours. And after that, then we can get it in the editing software once I have it all grouped up into folders. And to give you an idea of what editing's like, it's usually around an hour to an hour and a half per minute of video.
When it comes to the mixtapes, how does somebody go about requesting one for you to do?
Typically it works best when we know ahead of time. Sometimes we happen to cover enough of a kid that caught our eye, but just as a videographer, if, in the way I like to do things, I want to have enough B-roll footage. I might want to get you talking a little. So it's best for them to reach out to us by email, typically. And typically, as soon as you know that you're going to a tournament, because our weekends do tend to book up quickly.
Speaking about tournaments, what kind of tournaments have you covered?
So I've covered Everything from larger to smaller. We've done, big shots, which, here in the Southeast is one of the premier. We've done teammate, which they're up there as well. Maybe not quite as big as big shots just yet, but their national championship is huge, huge exposure event. And we actually, Street Clip Sports has the pleasure of partnering with Teammate Hoops. So we'll be doing a lot of their events in the future. And then we've done some smaller local things. We work with High Star Hoops right here in Charleston and the Carolina Elite Athletics in Columbia.
Can you talk about covering big shot tournaments and what that's like?
Yeah, so it's definitely different. Just as a videographer, if you're someone who's up and coming and maybe doesn't have as much experience, you may want to start with something smaller just because it can be overwhelming and the days can be long. I mean, you go out there a Saturday and a Sunday, 150 teams in the Rock Hill Sports Center. And if you don't know where to be, it can be overwhelming because there's a lot going on. You're filming on one court and you hear a dunk and some noise going on across the room and you start walking that way, then you miss a dunk on your court. So it could just be a lot.
Can you talk about some of the famous people that you've maybe have made a mixtape for that has now made it to the college level?
So actually, because we just started, I don't believe I have filmed anyone that's already went there. We're only 1 year in, and we started with a lot of smaller, younger kids. So actually, right now, I had the privilege of filming some kids that are getting ready to graduate and go to college, class of 2021. Like we had RJ Felton, we did a mixtape for. He's heading to East Carolina. We had the pleasure of working with Dondre Watson out of North Carolina. He's also going to East Carolina. Just to name a few, Bradley Haskell out of Wilmington with Flight 22. That kid he's not committed yet, but he's one of the best point guards I've had the pleasure of filming. Najee Harris, big 6'8" guy, can go up and dunk on you, but can also, shoot the three over you. I mean, some of these kids are just really, really talented.
Can you talk about working with Flight 22 and what that is like?
Yeah, Flight 22 is actually one of my favorite organizations, and it's funny because they're based, about 5 hours from us, but we come in contact a lot through big shots and other big tournaments. So I've worked with their 17U a lot, their 2021 class, and I worked with their 2025 class a lot. And I like the culture, just a good group of guys, good group of coaches. And one thing I can say about their program, they don't always have the most talented kids, but they always have the hardest working on the court.
What are some big plans coming in the future as you're just now starting?
So, we have a ton of things that we're working on. Actually, right now, and you can visit our website, StreatClips.com, www.street.clips.com. We're working on becoming a recruiting site. So players will be able to go on, create themselves, personalized recruiting profiles and be able to get seen by coaches. So our goal is to just kind of become that platform to help those kids who maybe don't get seen as much, and not to take away from my 5-star guys. I love filming you guys too, but there's a lot of kids who, and I talk about it all the time, just right here in North Charleston, South Carolina, or Summerville, South Carolina, that in my opinion are D1 and D2 caliber kids that don't get an opportunity to shine because they're just not put on that platform.
That's great that you're going to give a platform for them. What advice would you give upcoming sports videographers looking to get into the business just like you did?
I think my biggest advice would be, work hard. I'm sure you can you can ask Brandon. It's been hard, and I thank him for sticking with me. It's been hard just for him to get me on here because it's long hours. I told you guys earlier how long it takes to make a single mixtape. I think that you got to have a certain drive because, while you're sleeping, there's a videographer across town who's up until 3 and 4 and 5 a.m. perfecting their craft and getting better. And there's guys who are shooting the emails, making connections. You can't be afraid. It's a business that's all about networks and connections. So, go talk to that coach, go talk to that parent. The worst thing that they could say is no. And if they do, that's fine. No harm. It's not for everybody. But you got to work hard and you got to be bold. You got to just get after it.
Where can my listeners find you at on social media?
So they can find me on Twitter at StreatClipSport. I had to cut it short because of, because of the character limit. They can find me on Instagram at StreatClipSports. They can find me on YouTube. Please go subscribe to my YouTube. We're trying to grow Street Clip Sports. And Facebook is Street Clips Productions, LLC. And Street is spelled STRAT on all of those.
Thank you again for your interview and best of luck in your business of Street Clip Sports. You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Facebook at Brandon Sports Talk, Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again for your interview and best of luck.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.